So now I continue the recording. We changed of room. I think that you can hear in my voice that I feel much more comfortable.
Yes.
You can. I am relieved completely. And I found during our little transfer, it was maybe 30 meters from one not room to a room. Yes. Now closing the door. I will explain you the problem. Yes, please. If you can close the door. I wait. Now the door is closed. This was the problem. This was the problem because we were in a very big corridor.
It's open.
And it was open. There was no door.
Yeah.
It was not possible to close it was not a room. It was beautiful. It was well arranged with everything, but it was not a room. And this, you can see that when I was there, you saw that I was almost not operating, not functional.
Yeah.
I was not very functional. I was half functional, and now I look maybe like another person.
Yeah.
Just because we are in a closed room, and on top of that, it is a real room. It is made for meetings, so there is nothing against logic. And I will explain you this problem of logic for the autistics. Now all is in order. We are in a room, which is a real room. And on top of that, it is nice with nice seats. There is no problem. It's not dirty. There is some mess with this, but it's okay. I will not pay attention. And the door is closed, and I think that no one will come because I noticed when we were in the big corridor that there were sometimes people or children, not a lot, but if I see only one, I know that there is a probability or a risk or possibility that another person will come at any time, so I cannot focus and put myself in the good mind settings to try to explain things. It's not possible to be quiet, to be in peace enough to communicate with you. You see that now my link with you is much better. I was really looking. I don't want to use the word disability, but there was. I was disabled. I was not able to do what I can do here, just because of the improper arrangement. And we are in a rehabilitation center, and it's just an explanation. It is to show that it's not so easy to understand these little details, even in a rehabilitation center. And I know that autism is difficult to understand. So I restart now. So I am Eric Lucas. I am French, and I am a so-called high functioning autistic or Asperger autistic, and I discovered that I am Asperger autistic 3 years ago. So it was, of course, a revelation. It changed my life, and I decided, because I learned, I found many ways in my life. In fact, in my life, I managed to overcome many problems without knowing exactly, but I discovered recently that I could overcome many problems, and I made efforts to try not being disturbed, but it's difficult. Overcome many problems. Yes, and because I found the name of my difference, I could put a label, a name of my difference, and this name is Asperger syndrome or high functioning autism. Then I found, I learned what is that Asperger syndrome. I did not know it. So when I learned it, then I found all the explanations. When I saw the description of Asperger syndrome, I found many explanations of many problems in my life. It was a little bit like, you know, that it is said that when people die, before dying, they are all their life, they see all their life. And it was not like this, but during several days, I found automatically I thought automatically to many misunderstandings and problems of my life with immediately the explanation. I had this problem because this person thought that I was thinking something or that I was intending to do something, but of course they did not ask me because they think automatically, and it is. People say that the autistic do not communicate. Yes, there are communication problems, but also the non-autistic persons, they act in automatic ways, and they believe things automatically without asking to the other persons. So there are plenty of misunderstandings. When I understood that I am autistic, and I understood the mechanisms of my difference, and I understood plenty of things, in fact, 3 years ago, and almost immediately I decided, the idea of helping others like me was obvious for me. It was not even a decision, it was obvious, and I started to create things like an association. And in France, we are struggling to help the autistics. The situation in France is a bit special because we are struggling against the system which is in France. There is a medical financial lobby, and I don't want to talk too much about this because I don't come to talk about France. And there is a huge misunderstanding about autism between the normal society, normal between quotes, and the autistics. And because of this big misunderstanding, of course, there are many problems. The first misunderstanding is that many people think that autism is a disease. So, of course, when you think it is a disease, what do you want to do? You want to cure the disease. You want to remove the disease. This is the biggest misunderstanding. I see that you agree with me, and it is good. But it's not so easy to agree. I know many people who, even with the parents in France, and I had a discussion with a parent, someone important and serious, and at some point he told me, do you think that autism is a disease or not? And I said, of course it's not a disease. And then he was shocked because he thought the contrary, and it was then very difficult to continue the discussion. And he's someone important in the parents' associations. So if the first thing is to understand that autism is not a disease, it is a difference, it is a biological difference, neurological difference. Like there are people who are black and white and yellow, or there are people who are right-handed or left-handed. This is a good comparison. So, but because of this difference, which is difficult to understand for the current society, and because also the autistics are a very small minority, then there is the law of the most numerous. When in any kind of group, even with the nationalities, if you take a group of 100 people from America and you put one person from India, he will have to adapt. The 99 American will never adapt to the Indian, and for the autistics is the same. And on top of that, because the behaviors of the autistics are difficult to understand, they look like crazy or something like this, and the other people are afraid and they can't understand. And also it's difficult for normal non-autistic persons to think that if you can't understand someone, maybe it's not because this person is crazy or stupid or something like this. Maybe it's because you don't have the capabilities to understand the person. For instance, I don't say that all the autistics are genius or things like this. But when you can't understand an autistic, very probably he has his reasons. Maybe he doesn't know the reasons, but maybe he has his reasons. In my case, I can analyze, I can explain, but many autistics, when they are irritated or they have a disturbing behavior, there is always a reason. There is always a reason. They don't behave like this just because they are autistic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the thing is to try to understand what is the reason. What is the reason? And I found that in my opinion, I found that there are the biggest reason when we have a problem is you can find the source of the problem, the cause of the problem. It is always a neurological aggression. Always. I did not think too much about this because it is so obvious. It is so obvious for me. I don't see what else it could be. It is neurological aggression, and there are two types of neurological aggressions. It is hot.
Do you feel hot?
No, for me it's not hot.
It's okay.
No, it's
The
okay.
weather is
Can you
good.
close the door completely?
Hey,
please?
Close it. No problem.
Completely. You saw just an example. The door was closed, but there
But
was
not completely.
1 centimeter not closed. It was not
And you
locked.
feel the air coming.
No, I just know that it's not
Why
closed.
sounds the same?
Yeah, of
If
course.
it's closed, it be closed.
Yes, exactly. You said it with the proper
Yeah,
word.
I
If it is closed, it should be closed
Closed,
completely.
yeah, yeah.
Otherwise, you open it completely. But
Yeah.
otherwise, if it is almost closed but not closed, it's a nonsense. Excuse me. It's just to explain.
Yeah.
It's not a nonsense, but it's not completely sensible.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it was an example. We can find example all the time in the life of an autistic. I was saying neurological. I will explain you. Neurological aggressions can be of two types. Sensory. I mean, this is external sense, the nerves, the touch and eyes and all this. And I learned recently that there are also two senses inside the body. I don't know.
Vestibular and proprioceptive.
Vestibular
And proprioceptive.
proprioceptive, exactly. And this is, for me, it is sensory aggressions. And the other thing, I made a parallel between these kind of aggressions and what I call the inconsistencies or injustices. But injustice is a kind of inconsistency. Inconsistency is incoherence. This example of the door is one example of inconsistency. It is closed but not closed. And I have to tell, and this is a very little neurological aggression. For my case, it's okay, it's over, I forgot it, and the fact that I can explain it to you, it's another way to erase the problem.
Yeah.
But if you cannot, if you experience this kind of neurological mental aggression, I forgot to tell you. Yes, it's a in my terminology, my own terminology, it is a neurological mental aggression, while the other things outside are neurological sensory aggressions. It's my way of seeing the problems that we can have. And in this case of the door, which was not completely closed, there is an inconsistency because it's not logical and there is something not in order. And you know that the autistics, they need order. And when I say this, I notice that these things are not in order. But I did not notice it immediately. But because I focus my thought on this concept of order, at the same time, I noticed that look, if we start to put everything in order, there are not so many things, but I think that we don't have the time. And for the sensory aggressions, it's the same, except that it is it's a variation. It's something which is not consistent, which is not just. For instance, if there is a variation of temperature which is not consistent. How to explain it? All this is linked: mental, neurological, mental aggression, and also external. I mean, the senses. It is linked. We can wait because I'm thinking at the same time because all this is linked. So if you when for instance, if there is a little smell in a room which is not pleasant, I call this a sensory aggression because it is with the nose. But it is also linked with the internal, with the brain and with the mental. So it's something.
You meaning the mental process for
Yeah.
for the sensory.
Yes, because I can. I make links with the smell of maybe, I don't want to name it here, but something very bad from a dog, for instance. Sometimes you feel it, not here, but it is for me it's a bad smell, but my brain tells me that it is a bad smell. So it's all this is linked, but I still use the terminology of sensory aggressions for what is outside and mental aggressions for what is inside. And also, when you focus on sensory aggression, for instance, if it is too cold or too hot, if it is too hot, maybe if I don't think about it, okay, I will suffer a little bit because it's too hot, maybe I will sweat. But if I think, oh, it is too hot, and I start to focus on it is too hot, it will be really too hot for me. And it's for everyone it's the same thing. So, in my opinion, the autistics are very, very, very sensitive, and they feel very little details of variations or inconsistencies. You put an autistic person somewhere, there is a little detail not in order, like there is there is a little black thing on the wall. I noticed. I don't know what it is, but not a problem. But you notice it immediately, and this could be a quality for a job, for instance, or for something.
I want to ask you, you didn't use this like something, because this is like to be like talent.
Yes, it's a talent. It can be used as a talent. I know that in the Israeli army they use Asperger, they use autistics to look at the pictures, satellite pictures, and if there is something not natural, maybe in the desert, they will spot it. Maybe a tent, but which is
details.
They will spot that something is not in harmony. Because I think that the autistic nature is nature. The autistic nature is nature. It is harmony and logic and something like purity or something like this. So, if the autistic brain, or at least in the autistic mind, if everything is in order and everything is clean and everything is logical and in harmony and so on, of course, when the autistic child or person opens the eyes, in this room, no problem, but if I am in some bad surrounding, if I open the eyes, immediately, if things are not, maybe the paint is not correct, or maybe there is garbage somewhere, or maybe even people, if they are not well dressed, or I don't like how they are dressed, or maybe the sounds of the voices, maybe I find the voice strange, or for me it's this, but for others it can be other things. So there are plenty of aggressions, plenty. I think that for an autistic, if you place an autistic person in the nature, I mean really the nature, not a park, there are much less risks of being aggressed because everything is natural. Then there is the natural harmony of the autistic mind, and in front of this there is the natural harmony of the nature. Then there is no conflict. But what I think is that look, here we are in the Emirates, and I like this country because in comparison with other countries, I could say that everything is clean and everything is perfect and everything is straight and everything, not everything, but almost everything is consistent and in harmony. Hello? So, for me, there are not many aggressions. I mean, with the buildings, I have no aggression. It's on the contrary, it's a pleasure. I make pictures of the buildings because they are clean and beautiful. As much as a building can be beautiful, they are beautiful. But in other countries, you see that I noticed that the door is not completely closed. I did not look. Maybe I did not hear the noise of the close of something like this. If someone would want to make a test, it would be. I don't want you to feel bad because you arrive. Okay, so the natural harmony and. People, yes, I think that in this society, the current society, I mean the world, there are so many inconsistencies and aggressions, like the wars, like the social bad organization, the people doing things which are completely nonsense and absurd for us all the time. And on top of that, even if I look I talk here, I travel, I am someone very lucky, it is true. I am someone who can do many things that many non-autistic cannot do. But on the counterpart is that also I analyze many things and I notice many things, so I receive much more, I see much more inconsistencies and absurd things that most people don't even notice. But I mean that many autistics which don't have the luck to be like me, they have other problems which maybe they do not analyze the problems, the wars or political problems, but in their life they may experience problems of things which are conflicting with their inner. Their mental, their mind, their pure mind, if we can say it like this. So for me, it's the basics to understand autism is that we are hypersensitive and we are very logic. Maybe sometimes you see an autistic child who is doing strange gestures with the hands but probably there is a reason, but we don't understand the reason. But for instance, we know that when he is moving the body backward and forward, it is to feel his body better or something like this. Yeah. And we know that flapping also is the same kind of thing. So there is a reason, but if people don't understand the reason, then the child looks like psycho or something. Mm-hmm. And also, let me explain you something. We, the autistics in general, we receive these neurological aggressions, which are very, very, very small details, and that no one sees. So what is happening? We are irritated, and little by little, there is one aggression, one another, and in the day maybe 10 or maybe 50 or maybe more. And if it is a child who does not speak or not a lot, and maybe he cannot analyze, of course he cannot analyze all this. And but he is irritated anyway. And he sees that the people around him are not irritated. So it is another inconsistency, because maybe somewhere in his mind he finds it not fair that he suffers and not the others. So maybe there is also a new mental aggression, but because there is a conflict, maybe he thinks, is it them or is it me who has a problem? Or something like this. Anyway, he feels that he is special, he is not like the others anyway. Even the simple fact of seeing that he has problems, he's suffering from a noise or a color or something, and the others do their life without any problem. So this is the beginning of the problems, and because he feels isolated and all this, and then even if he or she tries to explain or to explain or to express that he has a problem, very probably it will not be adapted at the beginning, especially if he does not use the language. Because there are, you know, that for the autistics there are many different ways to express. Sometimes it's not with the language, and sometimes no one understands. So there is an additional layer of problem because there is the frustration to be unable to communicate with the others. And there is a door opening. Yes, but it was you saw that I was not disturbed because it was at the end of a sentence.
Yes.
It was it was at the end of a sentence, and I was not inside of a sentence, so it was less difficult for me, and it was less kind of aggression. Excuse me, I just want to verify that my charger is working, and I don't want to talk too much. You will ask me things, of course, but I am launched in my explanation, so I try to continue a little bit. So if he tries to express, or anyway, sometimes you feel so irritated that you don't even try to express. You just express when you are irritated. When you are irritated, even sometimes I am alone and I am irritated about something, and I will shout, and maybe you also sometimes, even if you are alone and there is something very irritating. So, but the problem is that even if the child or the adult is trying to express his irritation, at least to try to stop or to reduce the problem, because many times the problem comes from the others. Because if, for instance, if the temperature is too cold or too hot, or if there is the sun, I go to another place. This morning I had such problems this morning. This is also a reason why I'm not very quiet. And I had to search for an address, and it took me 1 hour 15. And I had to work outside, and it was quite hot this morning in comparison with the last week.
Yes.
And I had to look for the shadows. But I know that if I am not at the shadow, I will be I will have headache, I will be very bad. And in fact, to come from Abu Dhabi to Dubai, I slept 1 hour 30 in the taxi. If I could not sleep, I would not be able to talk like this. So I mean that regarding the shadow, because I was, given that I was alone, I was able, and because I know that I have problems with the sun, I was able to walk only at the shadow of the buildings, beneath the shadows of the buildings. But if I am a kid, maybe I am 10 years old with my mother holding me by the hand, and my mother or my grandbrother has no problems with the sun. And I will experience the sun on my head and everywhere, and then maybe there will be another little problem, and I will be irritated and all this, and no one will understand why. And you understand all these kind of problems, and at some point, because you try to reduce the problems, I mean that the problems are generally caused by something imposed by the community. Generally the community, it can be the family, they don't know that it is a problem because it is normal for them and they don't have problems. So you see one of our biggest problems is that when society thinks that something is not a problem, they say it's not a problem. Now it's the door, but no one.
Okay, no, there is somebody.
No, I hope there will be enough space.
Yeah, I will bring more.
Yeah.
It's okay.
I continue my explanation not to lose the thread.
Yeah.
And when society thinks that something is not a problem, do you know how they decide that something is a problem or not a problem? They say, everyone does this. No one complains. For everyone, it is not a problem. Then it is not a problem. Then you have a problem. Because everyone no one has a problem with this, or the heat, or the cold, or whatever, with the dust or something, then you are not normal, you have a problem. We are normal, we don't have the problem. It's always a matter of a force relation, the number of people. Fine, now the door is closing by itself. Yes, the door is kind with me. I'm talking about several subjects at the same time, but all this is linked. So I said that the aggressions, most of the time, or almost always, it is imposed by society. If I look for examples, if I have a problem with something natural, I can go at the shadow, I can go somewhere else. Of course, if I am in the middle of the desert and I have no shadow, and it will not be the fault of society if there is no one. But why am I in the desert? Maybe if it is my decision, it is. I admit it is, but probably I will not. Knowing that I have problems with the sun, I will not decide to go there. So most of the times, it is our neurological aggressions. Many times, I think 99% of the times, they are caused by things which are imposed by the group, by society, who does not think it is bad, because for them it is not bad. It's as simple as that. So what is happening? We have problems, we have irritations, our neurological system, I mean the nerves or the mental, which are connected anyway, are irritated, and it's like when you it's like when you put boiling water. At first there are little bubbles,
and then it's
or the milk. You know, the milk, there are little bubbles, and at some point it is. And for every person in the world is the same. But for us, the level is much. Our level before boiling, what is ebullition? I don't know in English. In French, it is ebullition. It's when it is. Our level is much lower. It is like, for instance, the non-autism water. The non-autistic persons with the water, it is 100 degrees. We know it, but maybe for the autistics, it can be 10 degrees, and we start to be boiling. It's a comparison. So what is happening is that we have this problem, we are irritated, and on top of that, when you are irritated already, it's very difficult to express yourself, because sometimes you just want to shout. Or sometimes, I had this morning, I was a little bit irritated, and I noticed that when I talked with someone in an office who had done nothing in the problem, I could not talk kindly. I talked with a tone of reproach about this person who is not responsible of the problem. And after this, I noticed that she was not very keen to help me. She did not really answer my questions. And fortunately, I analyzed the problem, and then I went to a calm place, and then I started to calm down. And sometimes I can also excuse, and then it's okay. But when you don't analyze all this, it's the escalation. And the escalation can go very fast. This is the problem. So when you cannot communicate, you cannot express your problem, you are irritated, and the irritation prevents also to express yourself. And on top of that, the other people seem to be completely quiet and comfortable, and this is another problem, because it's a conflict, because you feel isolated and different and all this. You feel like you are a problem, and you see that the other people look at you like you have problems, and you are a problem, and can't you see that only you have such problems, and can't you see that you have problems with everyone? And so it's very difficult. And on top of that, excuse me, I'm a little bit not irritated, but I want to continue this subject. On top of that, when you manage to explain with the words, like now, to the people, sometimes they don't believe you, because you explain things which seems unbelievable, because they are not used to this. the only explanation is autism. But if you say this to someone who has no clue about autism, or who believes that anyway, if you are autistic, you cannot talk, it is another problem. So it's very, very difficult. So I really, in my case, I really have to be very cautious, because when I see that I am in very big problem, for instance, in a plane, and it is too hot, and I start to shake, and I know that I will have a big crisis, it happens sometimes. On top of that, they don't believe you. And for the explanations, you have to it's almost impossible, because even myself, I know my subject, but sometimes if I use the autism or Asperger explanation, sometimes if they don't know it, they will think that I am a liar.
Yes.
And it is another problem. So let's try. I finish soon this example, and after this you will ask the questions.
No,
but I want to go until the end. It is another autistic thing. I want to go until the end, from the start to the end, and then it will be consistent. And another thing is that even if, for instance, if you talk to someone, if you explain your problem to someone who trusts you, who knows that you, or at least who maybe does not trust, but at least he does not think that you are a liar. He thinks that what you explain is true. There is another problem, is maybe the people who can change the problem, maybe the people who can turn off or on the air conditioning or something like this, or the door or the light or whatever. Maybe these persons will tell me, okay, now I understand your problem. You have a problem with maybe this noise or this temperature or this thing, which is. I talked about sensory problems, but we can talk about injustice, which I call mental aggressions. You had a problem with this person, and what she did is not fair, and I understand that it is not fair, but we cannot change it because it is like that. It's like that, and society is like that, and you just have to accept it. But we cannot accept it because we are autistic, and we cannot accept it. It's not just a matter we don't want. It is one of the principles of autism. I think that autism is a kind of social nonsense resistance against the social nonsense, or any kind of nonsense. I have nothing against society, but against the system. I have nothing against people, but the system. It is very difficult, because even when people understand us and believe us, many times they are not able to change the things, because it's not possible to change, because it has been decided by the majority, and the majority does not take autism into account, and so there are no adaptations, and you have to suffer. Sorry, you have to suffer. That's why we are struggling, because the adaptations needed by the autistics many times are some things very, very small, very light. It's not expensive. It's not huge things. It is just taking autism in account. I finish my sentence after this, but I give you an example of a very small and easy adaptation. It's the concept of attention, caring attention by people around me. For instance, my mother, it's valid for me, but also for other autistics. Sometimes the other people around trying to help, willing to help an autistic, they will propose things to help, which are not requested. When we do not request something, most of the times it means that we don't want it or we don't need it. But many times the other people, they are kind, they want to help us. I understand this, of course. In the case of my mother, for instance, I know well that she does not want to do anything harmful for me. But if I need something, I will either do it by myself, or if I cannot do it by myself, I will try to ask. I will ask two people, or some autistics cannot ask, but they will probably do something to express that they need something. But if they don't do anything, it is bad, in my opinion, it is bad to assume that they need something because in you yourself, in their shoes, you would need the same thing. No, we don't have the same needs. We don't have the same needs. And sometimes it is very irritating because the only thing that we need, most of the times, many times, we need to be quiet. We need to be in peace. We need to be alone, just with our thoughts. And when you are an autistic and you are retired in your mind, in your thoughts, everything coming from the outside is a problem anyway, because maybe the autistic is just playing with an object or thinking about something in his mental world, and someone comes, maybe the mother or someone of goodwill comes and says, "Oh, do you want this not to be cold or something?" You don't want this. It's just annoying because you lose. You see how it's easy for me to lose the thread of my thoughts. So imagine an autistic child who, and his thought is maybe 90% at some point, not here, not in the concrete reality. It is somewhere in autism, and maybe he needs this. No one knows. When you sleep, when you dream, you don't want someone to wake you up and to ask you, "Are you well?" "Oh, okay, I am sleeping." "Oh, okay, sorry." When you sleep, you understand that it is extremely annoying. The most annoying is, sometimes people ask you, "Are you sleeping?" You know this? Okay, if they ask kindly not to wake you up, it's okay. But sometimes it wakes you up. Well, okay, I finished talking, and now you can ask the questions. It's not. I started with a presentation, but there were many examples of. I finish. Then you can ask your questions. Any question?
I can start. Okay. You said that you discovered that you have the Asperger's 3 years ago only. So
yes, 3 years. Yes.
So you don't have a problem before. So your life is going okay. How is your life going okay? Because it's long time. Why you didn't discover it long time ago?
No, my life. I had problems since the beginning. Since as far as I can remember, I had problems with the other kids at school. I was alone because I did not like their games, and my interests were not interesting for them, and vice versa. And I have many such problems. I did not have speech problems, but you know that maybe you know that the Asperger, they don't have a speech problem. In fact, my speech problem is the opposite. I speak too much. And even with my colleagues, even some of my Asperger colleagues, sometimes they say, "Eric, please." And last year, at the end of the year, I noticed that I did not have the time to tell some things to my colleagues. I was in Russia, and I took my phone and I started to talk. And it took not one day, but a lot of time. And I make my editing of all what I wanted to tell to my colleagues that I did not tell in the year. And the result is 5 years. And the problem is that it is not adapted. It is the autistic problem. It is not adapted because even my colleagues tell me 5 years. What I said, 5 years or 5 hours?
5 years.
5 years. Sorry.
It's
5 hours. Yeah, it's not possible. 5 hours. 5 hours of speech. Who wants to listen to 5 hours of speech? Even my friends, even my best. I think that even my mother, she did not listen, and she did not dare to write. She said okay, but she did not dare to write me that she did not listen. So it is an autistic problem of impossibility of difficulties of adaptation. I tried to fix this problem. I put shortcuts in my speech, and you can click on shortcuts and you can choose just the chapter that you want. But anyway, it's complicated. So to come back to your question, I had problems all my life. I could work. I had some jobs. I can explain later, but it was it is an example of autistic problem in the work. In the work, what our job? Sorry, our job. We do it well. When we are in our job and no one comes to annoy or to help, no one comes. We do our job usually well because we want to do good things anyway. So there is no problem. But the problems in the job are always besides of the work. It's the social problems with the colleagues in the meeting room or in the corridors, or maybe they invite you because something and you don't want to go because you don't see the interest. And because of this, there are conflicts because the colleagues find you not cool and not kind and all this. And this thing is something not consistent, because if you do your job correctly, the work is not the work. The workplace is made to do your job, not to discuss with people. Okay, I understand it is pleasant to discuss with people. I understand it is pleasant, of course. But if the autistic employee does his job correctly, he should not have problems. And things should be explained for the colleagues, and he should receive an help also to explain his difference for the colleagues. When you have the luck to explain your difference to your colleagues, which is not easy for an autistic because you have to talk with them about something which is very embarrassing, but you can see that the people are not of bad will. When they understand and they see that you make efforts, then they make efforts also to understand you, and then it's like a miracle, and then you can communicate and they don't judge you bad just because you did not want to talk about this. And it would be a long story, though I don't want to make too many explanations. So yes, to understand, to answer your question, yes, sure, I had problems almost all the time. When I was alone, if I was, for instance, in my family, if I was in my room, in my personal room, I did not have problems. I could make my things, my collections, my do-it-yourself things with woods, with tools, with electricity, with all this. When I was doing bicycle, I was alone, I had no problems. But all the rest, every time there was any relation with someone, even and especially in the family, unfortunately, but anyway, at school or anywhere, in the shops, any social relation, I mean communication with someone, even by letter, it was always a problem. Even for making friends, it was almost impossible. So to answer your question, yes, 100%, yes, I had problems before knowing that I have what you call this the Asperger's syndrome. And on top of that, since I know this, of course, I have less problems because I can anticipate. Because if you don't know, if you don't know, it's difficult to anticipate because you don't know the nature of your difference, so you don't know the mechanisms, so you don't know how to adapt, what to do, what not to do. It's very difficult. You don't know the problem that people are not frank, they are not honest. So when you don't know autism, if you are autistic and you don't know that you are autistic, you continue. During almost all my life, I continued to say what I think, and I expected that people understand what I think and they believe what I think. But it's not like that. You cannot say what you think. You have to convert it in something else, and they will decode this. You have to code your raw thought in something, phrase, something, and then they will decode, and it's very complicated for us. Now I just say what I think. There is no social code in what I say today with you. But sometimes you cannot say what you think. You have to use. It's not straight. Yes, it's not straightforward. But I did not know it. Now I know most of the situations. Most of the times it's misunderstandings because people give you intentions that you don't have. Sometimes you don't even know what it is. Sometimes I had problems. I don't want to talk too much because everyone will ask questions. Just to finish, I remember the situations can be so nonsense that at the same time I had a double misunderstanding with the police believing that I was a criminal, and the criminals, I was light criminals, not just light things. And for some reason, I was discussing, because I can talk with anyone, I try to talk with anyone, and the criminals, it's not criminal, how you say this, when it is very light, it's delinquents, something like this. And they were believing that I was, in fact, working for the police. And the police, in fact, the police caught me because they were believing that I was preparing some burglary or some in the casino or something completely crazy. And it took me a lot of time to understand this. And everyone believes things, and because people don't say because the truth is in the non-autistic system, in many countries in the non-autistic system, the truth is not something respected. So no one knows if you lie or if you don't lie. So everything is possible. It's extremely difficult for us. That's why also we want to stick to the truth and to the dictionary and all this, because otherwise it's almost impossible for ourselves to justify it. Because if we say A, B, C, D, someone they will not believe you, and they will think what they want to think, and you don't have. Okay, I finish.
How did you discover? How in the whole life you know that you are autistic, but how did you discover that you are Asperger, and you read about it more, so you have the more knowledge about it?
Yeah, for all my life, little by little, I understood that I was different.
Yeah.
I know that everyone is different, but I can tell you that in my case, many people told me, you are different, you are unique, you are strange, you are weird, you are crazy, and so on. And can't you do like everyone, etc. So I had to admit it, and at the age of maybe 25 or 30, I just took consciousness. I was conscious that I was very strange or different or probably unique. I know that everyone is unique, and I just had to admit it and to live like that. And I was thinking about society, and I was also criticizing. I was thinking it's difficult to, they don't understand me, and so on. And I was just thinking that I had something, because everyone told me, "Oh, you have something." Even one of my boss, he told me, "I don't know what it is, but you have something." He was right. But it was in 89. It was the year in 89 in a discotheque. And this guy was very intelligent, because he managed to find that I was not crazy or bad or something, but I had something. And many people just told me that I am bad or crazy, or bad words I don't want to say here. So it was in 89. So anyway, to answer directly to your question, I was in this situation 3 years ago where I was absolutely used to the fact that I have something, and I was not even looking, what is this something? This something is me, is my difference, I am like that. Like a sheep with 5 legs. We say this in France. And to answer your question, I was in another country and I saw a movie. The movie is My Name is Khan.
Yeah, My Name is Khan.
You know it. And everywhere I go, almost everywhere I go, since I left France, when I say this, most people tell me, "Oh yes, we know it," especially here in this country, because you have close relationships with India. So, and Khan is an Arab name anyway, Arabian name. So I saw this movie, and let me tell you that it was really, it was the beginning of the revelation, and then I checked. I explain you quickly. I saw this movie. At first, I did not. The first thing when I saw it the second time, I noticed that the young child, the young autistic, does not like when his mother takes him in the arms. At first, I did not even notice it, but it should have been the first detail, the first orange light because of course I have the same problem with my mother, etc. And I started to scratch a little bit my head when the teenager fixes a problem. There is flood in a basin. There is a lot of water, like here in this country last week.
Yeah.
I did not think about fixing problems here because it's a very serious country, and I'm sure that they know how to do. But then in the movie, he makes a pump with some things and with a bicycle, and he solves and I am used to. It is a movie. I don't do these things, but in my own life, I am used to fix problems with what I can find around me, and to try to build something. And it's my life. I do this all the time, and so I was starting to be interested by this movie, and all the rest of the movie is not my life, but very similar to my life. And he has problems at the airport. Now I am very cautious at the airport, but I had many problems with police, with airport, and so on. And people don't believe him. He looks strange, and so on. And when the first time when he goes in the beauty salon, and he explains to people, look, I am special, I have Asperger's syndrome, but don't worry, it's not bad, and he was funny. I did not really pay attention. And then he wants to sell some products. Yes, the door is not closed. I can't do it. He wants to sell some products. It's a test or what? He wants to sell some products, and his future wife, he does not know at the time, the woman, he says, no, you cannot order for 3 months because after 3 weeks it's over, the products cannot. And she says, wow, it's the first time I see a salesman saying the truth, or at least what he thinks, because it's not, the truth is not the same. But I found there are many things, and at some point in the movie, maybe before, there is the special detail which lit all the lights in my brain. I would say the yellow lights, because it's the yellow color. At some point he's in a road and he's blocked in the road, and you see there is the zebra crossings in yellow. Even when I say this, I have in my back I have things like this. I don't know in English what it is. Just imagine when I imagine the scene, because it is the yellow, and I hate yellow, like the character of the movie. I hate the yellow color, not the yellow people. I was in Kazakhstan and Kyrgyzstan, and when I said I hate yellow, I don't want misunderstanding. And so I have. If I make efforts, I can. When I eat a banana, it's okay because it's part of my diet, and the yellow apples, it's okay also. But I hate yellow. So the guy was blocked in the. It can be other colors, but for autistics, many times it is yellow. I know some who have no problems with. I know one who has no problems with yellow, but autistics like blue. This color, I like your. And the yellow in the circle of colors, it is the opposite of blue, exactly the opposite of blue. Yeah. Well, and there were the zebra crossings, there were the bus, yellow taxis, and so on, and it is overwhelmed. He was overwhelmed by this. And I hate yellow, but please never publish any picture or video of me. Just don't publish it. I hate yellow, and yes, not my face at least. Or you make blur if you want. You put blur. And where was I? And I hate yellow, but at the same time, I am very grateful to yellow, because maybe without this detail, maybe I would have looked at this movie. It's not the first time in a movie where someone fixes problems and says the truth. But with the yellow color, I said, he's like me. And my friend he's not here, but I do like this. My friend who insisted to show me this movie, many times in the movie I told him, but it is like me. And he said, yes. And at the end of the movie, I was in a strange state of mind. And I Googled, like we say now, I went on to Google, and I typed, and I rewind the movie because I did not remember the name. Asperger, what's that? It sounds like a disease. What is this thing? And I typed Asperger with an H because I don't know what it is. And I found, when I read the description of Asperger syndrome, it was really,
it's me.
Yes, but I made it correctly. I made the test on the website rdos.net, ASPIQuiz. ASPIQuiz, for Asperger, there are 200 questions, and I have 168 points. Then I was pretty sure that it was. In fact, when I did this test, even without seeing the results, I had the feeling that the questions were made only for me. Mm-hmm. And of course I knew, that it was not made only for me. So it was very shocking because for the first time in my life, I saw something made for me. Mm-hmm. Really. Usually you have to struggle because things are not made for you. You try to find adaptations. You see, when you see a form to fill with boxes, I never read the boxes. I go straight at the end to see if there is a box with other. And I click other. I don't even look for other boxes and if there is no other, then I try to check something close to me, to my case. And sometimes it is a problem because after this people will tell me, but you, for instance, at the airport, they ask me if I come for job. No, it's not for job. If I come for tourism, but because I am autistic, I say no. And they say, then for what? You are not a journalist? You are not. No, I cannot say I come because I am autistic or I come because I don't know, because it is the reason I come. When I will go to Nepal, inshallah, next week, I don't know what I will do there, which is the most exciting thing because I don't know. I am prepared to be able to do whatever. This is the other thing. But, and I remember at some point, the police at the airport, at the beginning, they asked me, so you are a tourist? And for me, no, I am not a tourist. Excuse me, it's not that I don't like the tourist, but I am a traveler or hiker or something like this, traveler in life. And I told them a tourist is someone making tours from one point to another point. But they did not even understand. And you see, it's an autistic misunderstanding. So in this case, I have to make an effort. And if there is two boxes, job or tourism, I don't like it, but I have to check tourism, even if I know it's not tourism at all. And here, I don't do tourism. I was all the time in my room, and I work with my computer. I went one time to see in Abu Dhabi Sheikh Zayed Mosque, and I don't regret it. It is fantastic. It is kind of tourism, yes, but I did not come for this, but I am glad to do it. Did I answer your question?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, we know that Asperger may have something gifted in it. What exactly you are gifted in any kind or any type of your life?
I know that the difference between autistics, high functioning, autistics and Asperger is about the language. And Asperger is also in the definition of Asperger, there is no mental intellectual deficit. That's it. Deficiency. Yes. And this is the definition of Asperger. No intellectual deficiency and no language problem.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yes.
Yeah.
But for me, I feel a little bit stranger to all this because it is only definitions and sometimes they change. Recently they gathered high-functioning autism and Asperger in the same category, in the DSM-5 something.
Yes. Yeah.
But it's not the same, but they consider it the same. So I think that all these definitions are not very clear for anyone, including me. For me, the reason is that autism is not really understood, and as long as people will think that autism is a disease or a kind of disease, it will be impossible to find the proper definition or box, because it will never fit. Because you will always find people who will tell you, but it is strange because you say that this person has a disease, but at the same time he's a genius also. So how can you? It's not consistent. I think it's just differences. But because our differences are in minority and not possible to understand by society, they are troubling society, so they are called troubles. I'm not sure I answered to your question. Can you repeat the question?
In the university and in our work and every meeting in the conference and workshops, they told us that the Asperger person have some
to be intelligent
in some place.
Yes, it is
it's more than the normal. The normal person about memorize numbers.
You mean do you want to? Yeah, I understand.
Telephone number.
Yeah, I understand your question. It is right. Yeah, it is right. It is completely right.
What is your gifted? Exactly.
But in my case, I don't know. I don't know. In my case, maybe.
You can sit on the PC a long time?
No, yes, I can do it, but plenty of people, even non-autistic.
Nowadays.
No. It's a very good question because it's difficult for me to judge myself. Sometimes I think that maybe my special domain.
In math, in logic, in science.
No, I am extremely bad in maths. So no, I am very, very bad in maths. Maybe 2 + 5 = 10. No, I am just a joke. It's a joke.
Not that bad.
Don't worry. But I am really bad in maths. And there are cliché. What is the cliché in English? Stereotypes. There are stereotypes of on one side, the autistic, flapping, non-speaking, and not very intellectual. And on the other side, genius like Daniel Tammet. Maybe you know him. He makes
computer
calculations.
Calculations.
Calculations very complicated, like a cubic root of 37, and he shows you exactly
what stands for.
But no, there is. Yes, we all have our special domain. Look, it's in comparison with the non-autistic persons. Yes, the Asperger persons have some specialties, and in their own specialties, they can go, of course, much further than the non-autistic persons. Because we are autistic, then we want to do our best. There are many explanations why we go far. I have some things I can explain you, but I don't have special gift. I am not a genius. I will not make a show now. I'm sorry about this. But I have something here in my jacket. Maybe in general it is impressive, but for me there is nothing genius. But I think also that in comparison with between the Asperger and the non-Asperger, maybe I think that every autistic person has some talent somewhere or some specialty somewhere, but sometimes it is difficult to find. But it should be. It is very important, in my opinion, to find what is the talent of any autistic person, even if it is a 4-year-old boy or girl, non-speaking or maybe flapping and so on. if you manage to find the proper way, then little by little he will be able to develop his talent. Maybe at 4 years old, what he does seems impossible to understand or a little bit crazy, but if you give him some training about society to have less problems with society, it is good. But not only, and in my opinion, you should give him also, not give him, but allow him to follow also his autistic interest or autistic nature, or what he wants to do, his will. If he's interested by animals, maybe he will become like Temple Grandin, who is the very famous autistic. Or there are plenty of examples. For instance, in my case, I don't consider myself like someone like Daniel Tammet or Temple or something. But I like to build things with my hands, and I like to fix problems with tools or any kind of material. And even though I don't have my jacket here, maybe you notice that I am quite well equipped with all my things. And my jacket, I travel with my jacket, and there is everything in my jacket. I travel without any bags. It is in the corridor now, and I should take it. There is no bag, and in my jacket it is like Alibaba. What is the name?
I saw them. He's like traveling.
Everything. Yes, there is everything, and all the people. When I open a little bit, they say, "Wow!" It is rather discreet. It is black, and I want it to be discreet. Otherwise, it will be all the time people coming. Not in this country, because here people are discreet, but in other countries it's not the same. So. And I am in the Guinness Book in France, Guinness Book of Records 2003 for this thing. And at that time I had much less things, but they already considered that it was incredible because I had 1,300 objects. And because of the number 1,300 objects, it was so impressive, and Guinness Book and all this. But now I think I have more objects. But what is important is not the number of objects. What is important is what you can do with it. Mm-hmm. And I have all the clothes, I have the computer, I have the pharmacy, I have a mattress, I have a tent that I made myself. Everything necessary.
You have it in that jacket.
In the jacket. I should take it and put it somewhere, because it's a little... I know I am a security here, but the fact that my jacket is far, it's...
Yeah, they have...
yes, maybe we can make a break.
Yes.
And I am a little bit tired. But you have time, because, excuse me, I talk a lot and I give a lot of explanation. And I would not want that someone can come here. Thank you again for coming here, so many people. And then for some reason, he or she could not ask the question. In my case, as far as I am concerned, I can stay all the necessary time, so don't worry about this. But maybe you have something to do in your home also. So
take a rest and come back.
Yes, we can make a little break.
Yeah.
Or maybe if there is someone who needs to
discuss something with you.
Yes, but if there is, but because I want to share but if there is someone who needs to go back home quickly, maybe
can we speak only during the break?
Oh look, you know what I will do?
Yeah.
I go with you where there are the refreshments and all this, and I will keep my record, this, and even if I talk with only one person, and if the other person don't hear, they can later on with internet. They can, after 1 week, you will be able to find it.
Can we have the website again, please?
Yes, the website. Yes, I show you the name of the website.
Yeah.
It is Autistic.
Give me, I will
Autistic.
take a picture, then I will.
You will send it. Autistic Alliance. It is Alpha, and Alpha is A.
Okay.
Autistic Alliance. .org.
.org. Yeah.
But I need some time to process the recording.
Okay.
This meeting started in a very unusual way, but